Did you talk about Larian using AI? Man, I don't have much to say about that. It's just really disappointing. I'm a big fan of Larian Studios, but, you know, never have heroes. Larian CEO confirms the studio is using Gen AI to, quote, explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. He says there won't be any AI-generated content in Divinity. Everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves. Blah. Sven is saying that his words were exaggerated. Okay. What, is this the CEO of Larian? Holy guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, 23 from our concept artists, and we are hiring more. The Arthur is original. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answered we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do it. Well, but if you're using generative AI to explore ideas, that is the concept art. Like that's what concept art is. If you're like prompting or promoting or developing idea, I mean, I guess they're saying it's like concepts of concept art. Normally concept artists would do what they're saying they want to use the AI for. Yeah, the pre-concept art. Says he uses it like Google. I don't get it. They're using it like they would a reference book for other arts. The work in the production process that they're doing would normally be done by humans or human artists. You mean like they're just using it like to reference, like not conceptualize? That's not really possible. You can't really reference it if you're the one creating it or prompting the AI to create it. Is the phrase "did you see nuked"? I don't know, but if it is, good. We use it at the early ideation stages as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There's no comparison. But the rough outline for composition is something concept artists do. Like a concept artist, like that's part of the workflow of producing concept art. Baldur's Gate 3 dev embraces machine learning for tasks nobody wants to do. What do you mean tasks nobody wants to do? Sketching composition is a task nobody wants to do? Vinka said Larian currently uses machine learning systems to help automate game development tasks that nobody wants to do. It's the obvious things like motion capture cleaning or voice editing or something very specific, retargeting. So that is basically if you play with a different species, you want to be able to reuse an animation on a different species that are in different sizes and then do certain interactions with others. But this is what human artists do. Like, look, it's one thing to talk about using AI or whatever, but don't pretend you're only doing stuff like none of this will make its way into the final product and you're only doing stuff people don't want to do, you know? This is from April 25th, 2025. Okay, this is an older article. This isn't, yeah, this is nowhere near the same time. What about this stuff has been a thing in game dev tools for like 10 years. It's a basic Blender plugin. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by his use of the term machine learning because there are things that you can do with those programs that isn't generative AI. There's a big difference between Grok prompt me a cool hellish landscape that I can use as an inspiration for my art or whatever. And like having powerful tools in Blender or whatever else that allows you to automatically alter, you know, dynamic animations or whatever, because that's just a tool. That's not generative AI. The whole point or the thing that makes generative AI like inhuman is the fact that the black box of its generation algorithm, you know, the systems that it uses to produce stuff change and aren't knowable to you, meaning you can't really use them as a tool. You're asking a system to give you something. You're not using it as a tool to create something. You can refine the process of it giving you something, but again, you can't really use it directly as a tool. However, machine learning has produced tons of tools that we use all the time in like basic editing software that just allow you to more or less automate a tedious process. But that's not a black box. You can pick it apart and understand how it works, you know? Think of it like, background noise filtering on a microphone is algorithmic, but it's not generative AI. You know what I mean? Like the algorithm that this uses to not pick up like dumb background noise or whatever, that works really well. And it's, you know, it is an algorithm and it's complicated, but it's not generative AI. It's not a black box. You can pick it apart and figure it out. So that article we just peeked at doesn't have anything to do with this article, this modern one from Bloomberg, which it doesn't want me to read. I'm reading it. It's fine. It's all good. Okay. Under Vink, Larian has been pushing hard on generative AI, though the CEO says the tech hasn't led to big gains in efficiency. Wow, what a surprise. He says there won't be any AI-generated content in Divinity. Everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves, but the creators often use AI tools to explore new ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art. develop concept art, and write placeholder text. The use of Gen AI has led to some pushback at Larian, but I think at this point everyone at the company is more or less okay with the way we're using it. Look, I'm sure there are companies using it in much less ethical ways, but man, I really hate this thing slowly encroaching, like creeping into every development process now. You know, I really, really, really hate it. Because it starts out with, oh, we're just using it to do some like reference background art or whatever. And then it's, you know, oh, we're just using a couple of AI placeholders to the assets that remain in the finished product. And then it's, you know, oh, well, in actuality, like we don't need all the background dialogue to be written by humans. That's crazy. It's just, it encroaches, you know, you have to have humans working on it. I'm still going to play it. Divinity, you know? You should know this happens at every gaming company. Yeah, well, I mean, probably like every larger one. Yeah, there are probably like 3-man indie teams. I imagine Toby Fox probably isn't using generative AI to craft the rest of Deltarune. That would just be my guess. I'd be very surprised if that was the case. It's not crazy bad, but it's still pretty bad. That stuff creeps in. And it's still a plagiarism machine, you know? Like, the only way generative AI is capable of producing anything is because it's ripping off real artists' work. Like everything that you do, all the art that you look at through, you know, filtered through Gen AI is still in the long and abstracted sense a byproduct of plagiarism. Oh shit, this tweet was from only 2 hours ago. If you're using AI to generate ideas to explore, that is using AI in your game. It is duplicitous spin to say otherwise. True. The entire history of creative industry happened just fine without using AI. There's no need to shoot your game in the foot by using it now. Yeah, if he's admitting it's not leading to big gains in productivity, I guess I just don't understand. Like, you guys made Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sins 1 and 2 without Gen AI. Like, you have the sauce, right? You have good people working there, you know? I know you're not broke. I know you're flush with cash after BG3. Not gonna lie, I don't care about this at all. Fascinating. I don't care about you not caring. Thank you for contributing your opinion, though. It really added to the discourse. Then pluck out your eyes, you goddamn narcissist. It's the idea that AI can speed up the workflow, which is mostly false. You know, one of the things that really me up too, I think, is that it really cuts short the chain of attribution and credit, you know? Because normally, if you're making a game, movie, TV show, whatever, even when you're in the pre-production stage, like you're just looking at inspiration for concept art, the artists can then say later in interviews, like, oh, what inspired you to design this like this? And they can be like, well, for inspiration, we took a look at these old movies, or we took a look at this game, or this landscape painting really inspired us, or whatever. But when you start using Gen AI, that dies. You can't do it anymore, because now you've removed the human element. You can no longer go, this was the chain, this was the continuum of thought. Now it's like, yeah, we ask Grok. Like, art builds on art. Communication builds on communication. You know? I think that it's really destructive to introduce something that breaks that. You know, you're kind of cutting short what is otherwise an uninterrupted stream of artistic inspiration going back basically to the beginning of human civilization, right? You're introducing a complete break. Now you have nothing to say. Well, Grok generated some images that are like kind of cool looking, so we worked off that. Okay, you know, all right. Is the argument actually there's no ethical use of AI art? Yes. Yeah, that's been my argument for like 3 years now. I work for a photography studio. I use Gen AI to remove people and other distractions from images. Is that still bad? Yes. But like, it's your job and you probably have to eat to live. So I'm not going to tell you that, you know, I mean, there are lots of things I think are unethical. In my mind, it's no different from Google image searching. It's just mixing existing images because you're being a solipsist. If you search images on Google, you're looking like theoretically, you're looking at actual existing things, photography, drawings, paintings, or whatever references that can be traced to human beings with human intent. As soon as you introduce the mass plagiarism machine into the equation, you cut short that line of communication. What inspired you? I don't know. Grok made me a pretty image, you know. Now you're just you're disconnecting the image from the artistry that produced it. Because again, keep in mind, artistry did produce what Grok did. It just plagiarized from it, you know. Like Grok did not on its own have the ability to produce that image. It had to steal from artists. Like you are still getting the inspiration like secondhand. You've just lost the ability to attribute it. Only people who do not work for a living do not understand there's some work that needs to be done but no one likes to do that we would just like to automate. Jesus Christ, this is such a tedious argument. It's not anti-automation. It's that this is a particularly bad technology. It has nothing to do, I'm not anti-automation at all. Gen AI doesn't automate, it annihilates. It annihilates the ensoulment. It doesn't, it just, it hallucinates, it steals. It's not a thing which, you know, merely does something faster. I'm fine with automation. If you do it with AI, it's alchemy. No, it's not. I don't know. Why do we have to keep having this argument? I don't understand. Why do we keep doing this over and over? My position on this is not changing. There's nothing that could make it change. There are still people in chat. Every time they're like, well, I have a novel argument for the use of AI art. That's great, man. I mean, it's the thing stopping me from tearing into it mostly is the tedium. It's years now of this, you know? Listen, if you use Grok or, you know, Banana whatever too, or I don't give a shit what you do, okay? The Pandora's box is open. I maintain my position on the technology. It is devil, yeah, it's devil magic. You know, every guy be like, I would simply throw the ring into the fires of Mordor. Oh, the devil magic? I would not allow it to consume me. Yeah. I know everyone else who's ever used devil magic has been consumed by it, but I'm built different. I would simply remember my axiomatic beliefs, my first principles, and I would stick with it. And then I would just not be corrupted, you know? Me the next day. The devil magic consumed me, guys. Can I get a like? Can a white boy get a like, please? Why didn't Frodo just throw the ring in? That was pretty fucked up of him. I would have if I was in his position. What happens if the U.S. stops using AI, but every other major nation uses it without limitations and gains a strategic advantage? Strategic advantage in what? Sociopathy? Like in what? What societal function is AI fulfilling other than being a gigantic magnet for capital investment? Like, if anything, I feel like the countries that are positioned to succeed in the future are the ones that ignore AI and just focus on a real economy for, you know, crafts and services and the like. Because right now, the entire US economy, all of its growth is singly concentrated in AI development and investment, and so far it's done nothing but hamper productivity in our businesses and made people more antisocial, you know? Yeah, the strategic brain rot advantage. What happens if our population is insufficiently brain rotted? I don't know, maybe that would be fine. What about coding? I know you'll hate it, but there's no way coding will ever go back to pre-AI. Tell me, without telling me, tell me you don't know anything about the CS industry without telling me that you know nothing about the CS industry. Vibe coding is terrible. Right now, like the overall quality of code produced in like Silicon Valley is plummeting. And it's because AI is bad at coding. I've seen multiple businesses be like, we actually would prefer only hiring people who learned how to code before 2022 or whatever, because we found that a lot of people who have been educated in it today have like no idea how to actually code. It's really bad. I mean, the overall quality of code, just in terms of like websites, applications, video games, there's so much bloat everywhere. Everyone takes processing power for granted, which you shouldn't, by the way. Definitely should not. Now that apparently future computers might actually be weaker than older ones. We're over the hill. Do you guys see that? Which company was it that said that they're going to be downgrading the RAM on their mainline laptops? They're going to be, like 8 gigabyte RAM laptops. They're because RAM has gotten so expensive, they're downscaling it. The tech is getting worse and more expensive. Apple just stopped selling their 8 gigabyte entry model versions of their laptops too. It's over for all of us. When do the good things kick in? AI streamers next? Hey, one of these days. It's grim. It's like we're actually reaching the point where technology is getting measurably worse because it only took a couple of years. Laptops are going to end up being like clothing, you know? People are going to be like, oh, you want a high quality laptop. They stopped making those back in the 1980s, you know? You need to get it off the vintage market. There's going to be, people are going to be like, you know, crawling through it's going to be like 2046 and people are going to be looking through boxes that, you know, your children are going to be looking through a box you packed up after college, and they're going to open up one of them and see the Chromebook you had, and they're going to be like, holy shit, Dad, do you know how much this is worth these days? 2 gigabytes of RAM? I bet it loads web pages almost instantaneously. Just like 40K. Yeah, honestly.